My name's Rick Zolman. You guys probably know me a little bit. I run around here quite a bit during Sundays trying to find people seats. But that in itself is a miracle, because for years I went to church twice a year, Christmas and Easter. Didn't want to go then, had no use for God. So it really is a miracle that I'm here able to contribute. The last time I saw my dad was when I was 11 and a half years old. I had been beaten, my mom had been beaten, my brothers and sisters had been beaten, verbally abused by him, and that was kind of the point where I stood up and wasn't going to take it anymore. And once I stood up to him, he left within probably 2 or 3 days after that, and like I said, I haven't seen him since. It's an identity crisis. You have no idea who you are and where you belong, and you always have this feeling of how people are looking at you or thinking that they're looking down at you. I wanted to be a part of the in crowd, and with my background and those sorts of things, I always felt that I didn't fit in. I learned about heaven and hell from church when I was young, 5, 6 years old. I remember those conversations and those sermons that those types of things happened, and that if you didn't live a certain way, that you were going to hell. My thought process on how to get to heaven was you had to be perfect. So I knew I wasn't perfect and kind of went the other way for a long period in my life. I did things that I'm not proud of, said things to people that I'm not proud of, was very selfish. I didn't care about you, I didn't care about anybody else. I cared about me and what was going to be the best thing to better me in my opinion or my mind. So I had a lot of fun, I drank a lot, all those types of things, and I definitely knew where I was going, and there was no question in my mind that I was going to hell. There was no fear of that. There was no stepping back from that. It was who I was and where I was headed. But the people I hung out with were on the same trajectory as I was, so it was, we did what we did and headed down that highway together. By the time I was probably 22 or 23, I had lost 3 friends in accidents, car vehicles. But it didn't occur to me that it was going to be me, or I didn't let that it could happen to you part come into my mind. And if I'm going to go to hell, I'm going to embrace that lifestyle and get there as fast as I can. I think my game plan was on my dying bed that I was going to say, Jesus, save me now. I walked away from religion and God. I had really no desire to go to church, no desire to be around anybody. And I think that came out of, I just thought that they were hypocrites. And I thought I was being the upright one because I'm not being a hypocrite. I'm just living my life the way I want to live it, do what I want to do. I worked for a company and I made a lot of money, and they decided to replace me with several different people. So I went from making a lot of money to not making a lot of money, and that put a lot of pressure on the marriage. It put a lot of pressure on me because that identity came back up of, oh, look, this is what happens to you. Very ugly divorce, and that's when I started thinking about, okay, maybe hell's not so much as it can be cracked up to be. And I just got to a point, I think, where I just couldn't do what I was doing and continue on my life and feel like I could make it on my own through the turmoil that was going on around me. It was not an easy process, and it's probably right about that time that I decided, I need to start going to church. And it was, God had pursued me through all of this, and I think that was the only way I was coming to church or coming to the Lord. So I started to come to FMC on a recommendation of a friend, and just absorbed and listened to Pastor Dave and how he taught, and his passion for the Lord and all of those things, to where I finally kind of said, hey, I've had enough of where I'm at, and I need to take that next step. And so came up, he had a call, came up on a Sunday, and I finally understood better that you don't have to be perfect to be a Christian, that we're all sinners saved by grace, and we're all broken in some way or the other. I'm well aware of the fact of I would have been in hell if something would have happened to me before I arrived here at FMC and before I committed my life to Christ. And God spared me for whatever reason. And so I look at that from the standpoint of an opportunity to impact the kingdom in a positive way. And even if it's just to smile at somebody and say, hey, we're glad you're here, to me it shows me how far I've come and how much of a different person that I am. And really, my journey has been on a road from selfishness to selfless, and trying to embrace that on a daily basis. So there have been a lot of people who have kind of put their arm around me and said, hey, we understand where you are right now, but you're not going to stay there. And I think what they helped me understand is my identity in Christ, and that, hey, I can go and screw up, but God's not going to throw me away, that He still loves me, and that out of that identity, I can do things that I would not have or could not have done on my own. And you think about those types of things and you're like, man, God has done amazing things with me. Hi, I'm Rick Zolman. I was a sinner going to hell. Now I'm Rick Zolman, saved by grace, going to heaven.